I am obviously conscious of time. What I would like to request of you is we will be sending out an email after obviously the webinar. We will be sharing the recording with you if you want to go back and just re-listen. We will be sharing a feedback form. If you can be able to just respond, with your feedback, or if you're right now you would like to just, give us feedback on the chat, that would be amazing. I will be opening up now to the Q&A question, and just remember that we always have a choice. We don't miss this opportunity, inshallah. So thank you very much. So we will be now, I'll open up for any questions that you may have about the webinar as a whole, or any specific questions that you may have at the moment. Any questions that you may have for Sasha or Saleha, just let us know now.
Give us some feedback as to how this webinar was for you. Did you find the information useful? And, if you were to continue and get the support, is there anything that you would want specifically? All right, so we have one message from Ashea, and she says, will a person be able to completely come out of their trauma even after they receive the help they need? Okay, so thanks for your question, Michelle. So yes, so generally, even though you would have encountered a very traumatic history, if someone has been able to be removed from that environment and receive the relevant therapy, the relevant support, and that is something that is consistent, then yes, they can.
Yeah, thank you for that. The other thing I would like to add to that, if this is something that that person is looking forward to working on, we are doing a holistic approach. And because we don't believe in one thing or the other, we look at it holistically. So we invite you so that you can be able to work through this process. I know it's challenging, but it is possible, and we can be able to transform our lives through that process. And I think we've shared with you, we've shared with you actually real life examples. It's not just theoretical aspects. Basically, it's real life examples. So we welcome you to be able to join us, and we can work with you one-to-one through this process, because it's not a one-off thing, and it's not something that you can be able to just do it all on your own and do it one-off. It's actually a lifelong kind of working through. But obviously you will reach a certain point. Once we've worked with you to a certain point, you can be able to now use it, because you've become very familiar with it through that process. So yeah, do we have any other questions?
Sorry, yes, we do. Can a person overcome the triggers that might have developed due to a trauma? And that's from Faisal. So if that question is directed to me, so there are different forms of therapy that can be very effective to support someone that has various triggers. So for instance, one of those could be EMDR, eye movement therapy, which has been proven to be able to help with certain triggers. There are others, so you have, psychotherapy, but there are also other things that you can do in terms of exercises, physical exercises. So you have yoga, you have different types of dance music that can be used. And one of the books that I strongly recommend in terms of learning about these techniques are, Our Body Keeps the Score. That's the name of the book, and it's very insightful. But yes, you can overcome the triggers. It might take some time for it to subside, but you can become resistant and become very much resilient and be able to control it.
Yeah, just to add on that, on what Sasha just mentioned there, just going back to my own personal experience, using those breathwork exercises and being able to, get that reassurance from, the Quran and the Sunnah, and, Pilates, one of those exercises that involves a lot of, breathwork, has been really amazing in enabling me to overcome that process, basically, because I used to get anxious a lot before I went through my own healing. So yes, it's very possible. So we welcome you to work with us so that you can be able to work through that process, inshallah. Any more questions?
No, I'm not seeing any other, Disha.
Yeah, so I have one question for you, Sasha, basically, which I know that, the audience would also benefit from, is, can you be able to, when you spoke about the limbic area not developing, if you're in a scenario that has been triggering you a lot, can you be able to develop that limbic area later in life?
So yes, you can. So again, it's about being able to adequately, regulate yourself. So it's about having that self-awareness. So once you've been able to regulate, and then you develop certain, so when we talked about the limbic area, we talked about it being responsible for our relationships, our attachments. So if we start, moving in that direction, so we are able to now regulate, then yes, we can move forward in terms of building the connections that we want.
Thank you. Is there any other questions in the chat?
I am not seeing any at the moment.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's taken a bit longer than we expected, but I would like to really, really thank you for being with us up to now. So we will be ending here. We will be sharing with you this recording after this, inshallah, in the next few days. And also we will be sharing a feedback form. If you can be able to just give us feedback, that would be amazing. And if you would like, to explore on that one-to-one discovery call, feel free to let us know as well on the email that will be, the email address that sent the details for the event. So feel free to do that. And we will be doing we'll have another webinar for next month. The date has not been, it hasn't been finalized yet, but it will be a different topic, but around this. So if you're interested in this as well, we will be sending out invitations after, once the details are out there. So thank you very much. And
Sorry, Khadija, we have a question here.
Right.
If we're lacking in discovering our own self, what are the key elements to discover our true self?
So the thing is, we cannot solve what we don't know, right? That's what we've spoken about today. So one of the key elements is just first going back to those deep places that we don't want to go back to. And through that process, we can start discovering who we are and how we've been able to shape our belief system. It's a whole process that we will need to work through. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not something that we can be able to, especially if we're very new to this area. We cannot be able to do it all by ourselves. So we can start by sort of like going through that. One of the things that I would say that is very helpful, that I personally found helpful, is the journaling process. Like, journaling how we feel, journaling, our own experiences. So that I would say that would be the first step to that. And obviously the other aspect to it is just having that safe space, community to be accountable to. The other thing that I would like to add is we have a Facebook support group that obviously is private. So we will also be sharing, when we're sharing the recording of these slides, for you to join the community if you would like to join the community. And through that, we can be able to help each other through that process. Do you have anything to add, Sasha?
Yes, so just adding to the question that was asked. No, I think one of the very important things, and it just marries with what you said, Khadija, is that life story work. So looking at our inner child and the things that would have happened. So asking ourselves, some general questions, and let me just give you an idea of what those questions would be like. So it's the life script work, and it could be something along the lines as, who was your immediate family member or caregiver during your childhood, and describe the people and the environment, and give 4 to 6 adjectives or phrases that would describe your mom, that would describe your father, if those persons were present, and describing the relationship to yourself that you had with, both mother and dad. And again, it could be other things such as giving 4 to 6 adjectives or phrases to describe yourself as a child, things, describe the experiences you remember, and what sort of memory are associated with those sort of experiences. And maybe things such as, what are some of the messages that you've somewhat taken away from, or you've learned through your interaction within those early years, and looking at, just reflecting on being self-aware, reflecting on, what am I doing now? What are the things that I like? What are the things that I dislike? And what tends to shape those things? So we have things that we are genetically, pre-designed to have, and that's based on our genes. But like Khadija said, and like I said earlier, there is also the impact of the environment on gene expression. So it's just looking at the environment that you're in, and just really examining what that environment has really done to you, and what sort of experiences has really shaped the way you currently present, and how are your current, core beliefs really impacting on the relationships that you have now. And it doesn't necessarily mean your relationship with a spouse or the relationship with a child. When I speak about relationships, like I said, I talk about all the ships. So it's just being mindful of that.
Yeah, just to add on that quickly, is also like the starting point I would say would be the just to add on that is the inventory, the belief inventory that I had mentioned earlier. If you can just sit down by yourself and just start doing that exercise, that would be the starting process for you to get to learn who you really are, and through that process to get to start processing your past and the experiences that you've had. Because I do appreciate many a times we may not have that opportunity to have processed this, the experiences that we've gone through. So yeah. Do we have any final questions?
No, I'm not seeing any more at the moment.
All right. Thank you very much. If you're still here and you are okay to put on your video so that we can wave, feel free to do that. But if you're not okay with putting your video on, then we will end here, and we hope and pray that you can be able to have a fruitful rest of your weekend. And thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you guys as well. Thank you so much for coming. We really, really appreciate your time, and we look forward to engaging with you further.